Okay, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the February 4th, 2021 meeting of the Baltimore County Planning Board is now called to order. I'm Nancy Hafford, the chair of the board, and we'll be starting with a roll call with each of the members. And when you hear me mention your name, if you would just say aye. Mr. Schweitzer.
Aye.
Ms. Panero. Mr. Hartman.
Aye.
Mr. Halipka.
Aye.
Mr. Johnson.
Aye.
Ms. Wolfson.
Aye.
Mr. McGinnis. Mr. Heckman.
Aye.
Mr. Heinel. Mr. Heinel. Mr. Perlow.
Here.
Mr. Warren
Here.
and Mr. Caligari.
Here.
Thank you, and please join me in saying the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you all. Mr. Davis, is there any changes in our agenda for this evening?
No, Madam Chair, there are no changes to the agenda as published.
Thank you so much. In the January 29th email, you received draft minutes from our January 21st meeting. Has everybody had an opportunity to review the minutes? Are there any changes or any additions that anyone would like to make? Not hearing any. May I hear a motion to accept the minutes?
Motion.
A second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. Thank you. Mr. Davis, can you fill us in on legislation that was recently passed by the County Council following our last meeting?
Yes, Madam Chair, there are 4 items on the agenda for recent legislation. The first one is Bill 131-20, which is a temporary use trailers regulation, and it's for the purposes of permitting the temporary business use of trailers in certain areas under certain circumstances and generally relating to trailers. The second item is Bill 1-21, which is a emergency measure from the Department of Commerce for a hotel relief grant. It's for the purposes of amending the 2020-2021 current expense budget by appropriating to the Gifts and Grants Special Revenue Fund monies derived from the state funds and made available to the county through the Maryland Department of Commerce as a result of the COVID-19 public health catastrophe and public safety emergency, and for providing for the effective Act, whereas the Maryland Department of Commerce has made an award of state funds available to the Baltimore County Department of Economic and Workforce Development to make grants to hotels within the Baltimore County to promote and encourage stabilization within hotel industry. The third bill is Bill 2-21, which is also an emergency relief measure. And it's for the Maryland Department of Commerce has made an award of state funds available to the Baltimore County Department of Economic and Workforce Development, this being to promote stabilization within the hospitality and restaurant industry. And then the fourth item is Resolution 1-21, which is a measure to amend the Baltimore County Water and Supply and Sewerage Plan. It is for the Planning Board has considered requests for amendments to the Baltimore County Water and Sewerage Plan, received recommendations from the Department of Public Works, the Environmental Protection and Sustainability Agency, and the Department of Planning, and has reviewed the requested amendments in accordance with the executive order concerning the Water and Sewerage Master Plan Amendment process dated April 11th, 1990. And those are the 4 items.
Thank you so much, Mr. Davis. And that's really the end of our meeting right now. So do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Motion.
Second?
Second.
All right. Well, we will be reconvening at 4:30. So everybody hang tight. And we'll see you in 9 minutes.
More integrated in our programs that have residencies, to be able to recruit better students for our residency programs, and also recruit faculty that would be products of our residency programs. So there's a lot of benefits in our team. And I believe, the next slide is a picture of our wonderful new medical student.
All right, good evening again. And welcome to the Baltimore County Public Hearing for the Baltimore County Water and Sewer Master Plan Emergency Amendment, Cycle 2020 EM-1 Petitions and Basic Service Maps is now called to order. I'm Nancy Hafford of the Baltimore County Planning Board, and I'd like to call roll call for our board members. When you hear your name, please say aye. Mr. Schweitzer,
Aye.
Ms. Perlow,
Here.
Mr. Hartman,
Here.
Mr. Halipka,
Here.
Mr. Johnson,
Aye.
Ms. Wolfson, Ms. Wolfson, Mr. McGinnis, Mr. Heckman, Mr. Heinl, Mr. Perlow,
Here.
Mr. Warren,
Here.
Mr. Caligari.
Here.
Thank you. At the board's January 2021 meeting, Mrs. Erin McKenney Straley from the Department of Public Works introduced the Water Sewer Master Plan Emergency Amendment Cycle 2020 EM-1 petitions. Mrs. McKenna Straley is here to further present the Water and Sewer Master Emergency Amendment Cycle 2020 EM-1 petition to the board. After Mrs. McKenna Straley has finished her presentation, I will call on those that are registered to testify. Please welcome Mrs. McKenna Straley. And Ms.
Good afternoon. Thanks, Chris, for getting that up. So I'm going to go into a little bit more information about each of the petitions that we received for this amendment. Some of the information you've heard before at the introduction, but it could be new to some people that didn't attend. And with that, I'll get started. I'm Erin McKenna Straley from the Water Design section of the Department of Public Works, and providing some additional information on the petition submitted by the Department of Environmental Protection and Sustainability on the Water Supply and Sewage Master Plan Emergency Amendment for Cycle 2020 EM-1. This amendment is being processed as quickly as possible per the Executive Order of April 11th, 1990, subsection S, due to an emergency situation. Next slide. Here's a location map of the petitions submitted in the amendment. All 9 petitions are located in Edgemere. Next slide. Baltimore County groundwater management staff conducted a sanitary survey on February 25th, 2020 of several properties located near the intersection of North Point Road and Millers Island Road in Edgemere to assess the need to extend public sewage. The results of the investigation indicated evidence that there are problems with the current sewage disposal systems at several properties and that new private disposal systems are not feasible. S recommended to DPW that a public sanitary sewer system be extended as part of a health project. Additional surrounding properties are included in the amendment, but not with the health project, as they were identified by EPS as having soils that are not conducive to an on-site sewage disposal system and will most likely require a connection to public service in the future. All 9 properties are located inside the Metropolitan District, and 8 are located outside of the URDL. 2901 Bowers Farm Road is located partially inside and outside of the URDL. Staff are recommending a sewer map designation change from S7, no public service, to S3, capital facilities areas for all properties in the amendment. Next slide. As DPW is processing this amendment, we have the opportunity to correct some inconsistencies in the water designations in Edgemere. Many properties included in the amendment are designated W7, no planned service, but have a connection to public water and/or active accounts with Baltimore City. An existing 12-inch water main runs along Millers Island Road, and an existing 16-inch water main runs along North Point Road. Both of these water mains were installed prior to the creation of the ERDL, which may account for as to why they were installed in a W7 designated area. Staff are recommending a water map designation change from W7, no public service, to W3 capital facilities areas for all properties except for 8210 North Point Road, as that property already has a map designation of W1. Any future connections to the public water system by the property owners included in this amendment will be at their expense. All right, next slide. We'll get into the individual petitions. 8100 North Point Road was part of the sanitary survey and showed evidence that there are problems with the current sewage disposal system and that a new private disposal system is not feasible. EPS recommended to DPW that the public sanitary sewer system be extended as part of a health project. Staff are recommending a map designation change from S7 to S3. This property is currently being served by public water and has an active account with Baltimore City. Staff are recommending a water map designation change from W7 to W3, which will be automatically changed to W1 upon adoption of this recommendation by the state, as it is an existing service area. Next slide. (8102) North Point Road has been determined by EPS to have existing soils that are not conducive to the installation of on-site sewage disposal systems. Although DPW anticipates that public sewer service would be needed to develop this lot in the future, the lot size and zoning would require a zoning variance. Staff are recommending a map designation change from S7 to S3. This property has an active account for water service with Baltimore City, but is not currently using public water. Staff are recommending a water map designation change from W7 to W3. Next slide. 8106 and 8108 North Point Road is a duplex, and it was part of the sanitary survey and showed evidence that there are problems with the current sewage disposal system and that a new private disposal system is not feasible. EPS recommended to DPW that the public sanitary sewer system be extended as part of a health project. Staff are recommending a map designation change from S7 to S3. This property is currently being served by public water and has an active account with Baltimore City. Staff are recommending a water map designation change from W7 to W3. Next slide. 8210 North Point Road was part of the sanitary survey and showed evidence that there are problems with the current sewage disposal system and that a new private disposal system is not feasible. EPS recommended to DPW that a public sanitary sewer system be extended as part of a health project. Staff are recommending a map designation change from S7 to S3. This property is currently being served by public water and has a map designation of W1. No water map designation change is being requested. Next slide. 8214 North Point Road, also known as the Bay Shore Bar and Grill, was part of the sanitary survey and showed evidence that there are problems with the current sewage disposal system and that a new private disposal system is not feasible. EPS recommended to DPW that the public sanitary sewer system be extended as part of a health project. Staff are recommending a map designation change from S7 to S3. This property is currently being served by public water and has an active account with Baltimore City. Staff are recommending a water map designation change from W7 to W3, which will be automatically changed to W1 upon adoption of this recommendation by the state, as it is an existing service area. Next slide. 8208 Millers Island Road was part of the sanitary survey and showed evidence that there are problems with the current sewage disposal system and that a new sewage disposal system is not feasible. EPS recommended to DPW that the public sanitary sewer system be extended as part of a health project. Staff are recommending a map designation change from S7 to S3. This property currently has a private well. An existing 12-inch water main is located along Millers Island Road in front of the property. In alignment with the surrounding properties, staff are recommending that the water designation be changed to W3. Next slide. The building at 2901 Bowers Farm Road is designated by the Maryland Historical Trust as a historic landmark and is located in the Chesapeake Bay critical area. As part of the approved development plan for Shaw's Discovery, which includes 2901 Bowers Farm Road, the developer was required to extend public sewer to serve this historic structure. Furthermore, EPS has determined that the existing soils are not conducive to the installation of on-site sewage disposal systems. Staff are recommending a MAP designation change from S7 to S3. Water service is technically feasible at the owner's expense. Staff are recommending a water map designation change from W7 to W3. Next slide. Parcel 60 along North Point Road has been determined by EPS to have existing soils that are not conducive to the installation of on-site sewage disposal systems. Although DPW anticipates that public sewer service would be needed to develop this lot in the future, the lot size and zoning would require a zoning variance. Staff are recommending a map designation change from S7 to S3. An existing 16-inch water main is located along North Point Road in front of the property, and water service is technically feasible. This property has an active account for water service with Baltimore City, but is not currently using public water. Staff are recommending a water map designation change from W7 to W3. Next slide. This is the last petition as part of this amendment. Parcel 334 along North Point Road has been determined by EPS to have existing soils that are not conducive to the installation of on-site sewage disposal systems. Although DPW anticipates that public sewer service would be needed to develop this lot in the future, the lot size and zoning would require a zoning variance. Staff are recommending a map designation change from S7 to S3. An existing 16-inch water main is located along North Point Road in front of the property, and water service is technically feasible. This property has an active account for water service with Baltimore City, but is not currently using public water. Staff are recommending a water map designation change from W7 to W3. Next slide. And as a reminder, the amendment petition process is not an approval of a service connection to the public water and/or sewer system, but a request to change the land use or map designation for a property owner to begin a separate process of applying for a connection with the county. The staff report for the emergency amendment is available electronically on the DPW website for viewing and download at the website above. And with that, I thank the planning board for their time. And I have with me members of the Departments of EPS, Planning, and DPW if there are any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. McKenna-Straley. At this time, we have no one signed up to speak this evening. When members of the public joined us online, they were instructed to put questions or comments in the chat area. Mr. Davis, were there any comments?
No, Madam Chair, we don't have any comments in the chat.
Thank you so much. Is there any further questions from the board?
Can we see that
Nancy?
map again? I'm sorry.
Mr. Warren?
Go ahead.
I'll let Bob go first if he wants to. I have a question.
Okay, this Bob Schweitzer. The question I had was Aaron had mentioned that on several pieces of the several parcels of the presentation, there is an account with just for my edification anyway. There was an account, a water account with Baltimore City, but no usage and obviously nobody paying for usage of water. What does that mean that there's an account with them already? Does that mean the water just runs past the property or what?
So what that means for the property, and we had some of our meter locators go out to the site and investigate. These properties have a water meter vault, but not the actual meter installed. And they have a service line from that vault to the water main. So they could easily connect to water at some point in the future.
Okay.
It's just kind of a strange wording on the billing
Okay,
site.
so that makes the connection very, very simple and straightforward then. Okay, thank you. That's just all I wanted to know.
Sure.
Mr. Warren?
Could you go back to the map? I guess my question's about the map. Like, why are we like all the ones in blue and the ones shaded in red? Why would we do some of them to all of them? I guess, like, why are we, and maybe we're not, I guess like maybe one of the squares, but you'd be skipping over people on the same street. What? Can you explain that?
So if you go, Chris, do you mind going to, I think it's slide 3, I'm sorry. So on this one, this is just the sewer map, but all of the properties that have the blue outline, those are all the properties that were submitted by EPS as having issues.
Okay.
So if they weren't submitted as part of this, then there might not be any groundwater issues at those properties.
So all the ones in blue are going to be changed if we vote on that to change it, is what I'm asking. Because it seemed like we skipped
That's
over
correct.
some of the ones in blue. Okay, that's all. That's the only question I have.
Nancy?
Right. When I went through the presentation, I left the ones that were just identified by a parcel till the very end because they don't have an assigned address.
Fine, thank you. Okay, that's fine.
Thank you, Mr. Warren. No, that's great. Any other questions or comments? Ms. Wolfson?
On mute.
Kathy, you're on mute.
So just to clarify, if they weren't granted this relief, they would not be able to live on these properties? Is that true?
Based on the report included, the sanitary survey investigation with the report, it seems like a lot of these properties are in pretty dire straits with their existing sewage disposal systems, and there just isn't there isn't a way to mediate it without connecting to the public system.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions or comments?
Question, Paul Hartman. So there are two parcels that are undeveloped, parcel 60 and parcel 334, and all the other properties have some structure on them now. Is that the case?
That's correct.
Okay.
Anyone else? Go ahead, Scott.
I mean, for those of you who don't know this area, this is way down close to Fort Howard, and a lot of the area is undeveloped and has been farmland. In fact, the place across the street from the cafe used to be a farm stand, and that's why a lot of it isn't being requested. There are no buildings or anything on most of it. It's all open land.
Thank you.
I think the reason they ran water is if you continue down North Point Road, you go right into the old VA hospital.
Madam Chair, there is one letter that we received in regards to this emergency amendment petition that I'd like to read for the board. And this is from Mrs. Frances Taylor of the North Point Peninsula Council. She says, I am writing with regard to the Baltimore County, Maryland Water Supply and Sewerage Plan Amendment Cycle EM1 2020. The properties to which our designation changes are proposed are located on a rural portion on the North Point Peninsula surrounded by fields that have continually been farmed since the 17th century. North Point Road, which fronts the majority of properties in question, is designated as the Star Spangled Banner National Historic Trail. It is the road alignment as used by British invaders in the assault on Baltimore in 1814. Existing dwellings to which sewer and water improvements are being proposed range in age from approximately 1790 to 1950 being the newest. Preservation of this historic landscape is of utmost importance. It is critical to address failing and existing sewage issues that have been identified as being health concerns. In an area that has endured decades of environmental degradation, remediation of these issues is a priority. However, of great concern is the comment by the Baltimore County Department of Public Works, as stated, note, per the MAP maintenance policy beginning with the Water Supply and Sewerage Master Plan 1993 Triennial Review, any capital facilities areas W3 or S3 in which a capital development or neighborhood improvement project has been completed and put in service becomes legally and automatically an existing service area W1 or S1. Therefore, existing dwellings with current public water and sewer service will be automatically changed from a W3 or S3 to a W1 or S1 designation upon adoption of these above recommendations by the state. we ask that you note the current zoning for the properties in question. It is our opinion that changing from S7 W7 to S3 W3, and then if the above information is correct, automatically to S1 W1 could jeopardize the rural and historic character of the peninsula at this location. Our reasoning is that these new designations would make future attempts to rezone the properties for development less cumbersome. Rural conservation areas are just that, and protecting them is a duty. Our recommendation is to extend sewerage and water only to existing dwellings that were identified as health issues and the PUD requirement, while keeping the current designations in line with the existing zoning to inhibit future development outside the ERDL. And that's the conclusion of their letter.
Thank you so much, Mr. Davis. Any other questions from the board?
Mr. Davis, will you share that letter with the board, please?
Absolutely, I'll send that to all the board members.
And Chris,
Yes, sir.
and FY, Fran is the guy.
Oh, I'm sorry. I apologize. I apologize.
Do we vote on this tonight?
No, there's no votes tonight.
Madam Chair, this is Jeff Peluso. Can I just add just a caveat to that letter, just for clarification?
Absolutely, Mr. Peluso.
So the design of this particular system is a low pressure grinder system, and it is very small diameter. So we are only designing for the connections that are in this emergency amendment. So we're not putting a large diameter sewer to take on, a huge development. So I just wanted to make that clear, that this is only for those particular parcels.
Thank
And
you
its
very
size
much,
and
Mr. Thank you. We appreciate your comments. Any other questions? Well, thank you all. Ms. Wilson, were you trying? Oh, okay. Thank you all for your comments to the letter and consideration when the board votes on its recommendation, which is tentatively scheduled now for February 18th, 2021. Thank you, Mrs. McKinney-Straley, for your presentation. And now to the basic service maps. At the Baltimore's January 2021 meeting, Mr. Jeff Peluso of the Department of Public Works introduced the basic service maps. Mr. Peluso is here to further present the basic service maps. After Mr. Peluso has finished his presentation, I will call on anyone who has registered on this topic. Welcome, Mr. Peluso.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Fellow board members, again, my name is Jeff Peluso, and I'm the Acting Chief of the Bureau of Engineering and Construction. I also have Lisa Eichholz from our Acting Chief for the Sewer Design section here as well, and Greg Karski and Chris Nabry from our Traffic Engineering Group to answer any questions that you or constituents may have. So as a follow-up to the introduction that I did on January 21st, I'd like to go over the basic services maps first as they relate to the general growth objective of the county, and then give you additional details specific to the water, sewer, and transportation maps. An excerpt from the county zoning regulations with regard to the map's purpose and intent.
We lost Mr. Peluso. We're going to give him a minute to see if he can join us again.
Can anyone hear me now?
Yes, thank you. You're back.
Okay, sorry. I'll turn the video off because maybe that's what's doing it. So I'm sorry. Where did I go wrong here? Was it when I started reading the excerpt from the zoning regs? Did you hear that part?
Yeah, I don't think you got to that part, Jeff. I think you could probably start from there, though.
Okay. So as I was saying, an excerpt from the county's zoning regulations with regard to the map's purpose and intent are as follows. The County Council finds that important public facilities in certain predominantly urban areas of the county are inadequate to serve all of the development that would be permitted under the regulations of the zones or commercial districts within which those areas lie. Basic services maps are hereby established to regulate non-industrial development in those underserved areas to a degree commensurate with the availability of these facilities. Basic services maps are non-permanent and will be reviewed annually with reports to County Council. So with that being said, the maps are, as it states, the maps are reviewed annually, and the Planning Board prepares recommendations as we are doing currently, and subsequently they are introduced and adopted by County Council. Moving to the specific 2021 basic services maps, we can start with the water map, which I believe is up on screen currently. As I said at the introduction, there aren't any deficient areas in the water maps, and nothing really to talk about there. Next we can you can go on to the next map, please, Chris. So next we can discuss a sewer map where we have identified 5 areas of concern. Now those areas are the purple areas that you see on the map. And then there's one deficient area in the upper northeastern corner, which is it's a brown little area there in the northeastern corner. So that's a deficient area. The 5 purple areas are the areas of concern. So you may ask, what is the difference between a deficient area versus an area of concern? To quote the regulators, because as we are part of the consent decree, deficient areas are woefully deficient. Development cannot occur until the deficiency is rectified. In the case of our one deficient area in the northeast corner of the county, which I identified as that brown area there, the treatment plant must be replaced with a pump station that will pump into the county's sewage system. This is being studied currently and will eventually be done in about 2 to 3 years. So we hope to have a particular deficient area off the map. In describing areas of concern, we designate these this way as it allows some flexibility. In these areas, it's not a hard no to development but allows us to review and decide where an ongoing project will impact the sewer shed positively, and perhaps timing could allow a development to occur. So in that case, we may have projects that are being done or almost complete, and we could allow, knowing that it'll be complete, and then maybe we review them, and then we also monitor them. There may be cases where we could allow it to go through, knowing that the area of concern would go away. There are also times where development is a redevelopment, and the use may be different than what's currently there. So there may be a time where the redevelopment uses less or creates less sewage than what is currently there. So it just basically allows us a little more flexibility. Let's see. I believe in the introduction that 4 of the 5 areas of concern are. I think I messed up here. Sorry. Yeah, okay. I believe that I mentioned in the introduction that 4 of the 5 areas of concern are sewer sheds that are in constructed overflows. This is an outfall that allows sewage to escape the system when the system is overwhelmed. So in cases of where we have constructed outfalls and the sewage system is overwhelmed, we want it to go out a constructed way versus backing up in people's basements. And we are further in looking at these areas. In the southwestern purple area of concern, we have completed all work in this area. So if you look on the lower part of your map, there's still downstream capacities for this particular site in the city. So our system feeds into the city, and we can't get rid of this constructed outfall until the area is improved in the city. And this is the case for Marnat, which is on the northwestern corner. And we are really at the mercy of the Baltimore City consent decree. And it really is going to vary on how they proceed. So they have their phase 2 maps that are going to be that have to go into the regulators by 2022, and that will outline their projects for the consent decree. So we literally had a meeting with the city this morning, and I asked them specifically about these 2 items, and it really is up in the air. It could be 5 years at a minimum. It could be 10. I really don't want to give any dates on when these particular ones are going to be removed from the map. But it's just important to know that these 2 are really related to the city's CD and when those particular projects are going to be done. So there's another area of concern, which is up in the northwest corner, not the small one, with the larger one. That one is not related to the city, and that we have work being done there, and we suspect that that'll be done in about like 4 to 5 years. Unfortunately, this one involves a piece of land that has to be acquired by Baltimore City, and so the county can't acquire property in Baltimore City. So this one, again, is sort of in the mercy of Baltimore City acquiring the property for us, and then once we get the property, then construction can occur. But again, I think it's going to be another 1.5 years to get the property, because it's probably going to go to condemnation. Then we have construction, and then any of these projects that we have require 12 to 18 months of monitoring to verify that the overflow is not active. So obviously we don't want to finish a project and deconstruct the overflow, or deconstruct the constructed overflow, and it doesn't work and it backs up into people's basements. So we obviously want to make sure that we've done our job, and that and then at that point we'll get rid of the constructed overflow. Moving over to the northeast corner, there's another fairly large area of concern, and we have a project there going on currently, and we expect that to be eliminated in about 2 to 3 years. Again, these are all subject to that 12 to 18 months of monitoring. And I did mention the area of the deficient area up in Richland Manor. And so switching gears, and no pun intended, to the transportation map, we can move on, Chris. Appreciate that. So Baltimore County has 35 signalized intersections that are currently rated as level D, E, or F. As I said, I believe I said at the introduction, during COVID-19 pandemic, the Bureau of Transportation did not study 5 signalized intersections during last year in 2020 calendar year due to decreased traffic volumes. As we know, the schools were out and such, as well as people were teleworking. So those 5 intersections were Joppa Road at Loch Raven, Pulaski Highway at Rossville, Rolling Road at Windsor Mill, Seminary Avenue at York Road, and Timonium Road at York Road. In order to proceed with these maps, the Bureau of Traffic Engineering utilized previous year's counts in rating these intersections. So how these ratings are done are based upon signalized counts performed during peak hours of 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. and 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. Monday through Thursday when school is in session. So as it just mentioned, it was pretty tough for those, if we didn't get to them before COVID, they weren't going to get done. There was one change to the basic services map, this map from 2020, and that's the intersection of Beaver Dam and Padonia Road. That was changed to a failing intersection by Council Bill 1219 to a level F. Our physical counts show that the intersection is operating at a level C. So that's where it goes back to a level C, unless it gets changed by council. And lastly, there's 3 signalized intersections that are outside the ERDL that do not have a traffic shed. So those are the areas that, sort of the shaded areas beyond the intersection. And they are Beaver Dam at Cuba Road, Beaver Dam, Cuba Road, Shawan Road, Falls Road, Shawan and Tufton, and Jarrettsville Pike at Paper Mill and Sweet Air. Primary reason for not providing a shed is that the traffic associated to that intersection cannot be defined to a specific area of zoning classification. This is the end of my presentation. I thank you, Madam Chairman and board members, for your time, and I'd be happy to take any questions. And like I said, I have a few folks also called in should we need them as well.
Thank you so much, Mr. Peluso, for your comments. At this time, no one has signed up to speak. The public has not signed up. They had an opportunity to send in comments, our written testimony, if they choose to do so. Mr. Davis, are there any written comments on this topic? Thank you so much. So do any of the board members have any questions or comments?
I do. This question came up last year where a councilman has downzoned the Padonia Beaver Dam or Padonia Warren Road, whatever that corner is, from a C to an F. What does that, what impact does that have on development, or if we've done studies that it's a C and whoever this person is, the council has made it an F, what's that do to the ability to utilize the area around that?
Mr. Warren, so fairly aware of what happened last year, and what happened was the intersection was made a F, and then there was a circle that was, I believe it was about a 500-foot radius that was put around that, and so in essence it blocks development. So I think that answers your question.
I more want to just make a point of it, so.
I understand.
Thank you.
But it should be noted that it blocks development while it accommodates existing development by creating the circle and eliminating the backup created by traffic from development.
Kathy, I hear you, but it's been rated a C. So you moved it from a C to an F, so you blocked development. That's simply what you've done. So if it was truly an F, then I understand that, but it's proven that there isn't traffic issues.
Are there any other questions or comments?
One question for Mr. Palouse. So in F, intersection does limit development or block it. Would that is that for just development that would increase the density, or if it's replacing existing structures with newer structures that don't increase the density? Would that be allowed in a traffic shed?
So that's a good question. So my understanding, and maybe Chris or Greg Karski, who are also on the line, is that you do not get you can't get a building permit if it's within the failing traffic shed.
Regardless of whether it's increasing density or not?
That's a good question. That's what I've been told. Maybe if Greg, Chris, are you there that could possibly answer that?
Greg, you should be able to unmute now.
Okay, I'm here, guys. That was frustrating. I couldn't speak. What happens is it's an F shed gets created. If there's an existing use and something wants to come in on top of that use and creates less traffic, they could probably get a waiver. If it creates more traffic heading towards the intersection, they probably would not get a waiver.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, that does. And the reason I asked just briefly is that there's calling homeowners in my neighborhood want to build student housing, and not going over well with my neighbors. So
yeah, I wouldn't think so.
we're intersection of Burke and York, so that would preclude any dorm being built in our neighborhood, even assuming he could accumulate enough properties to do that. Okay.
Well, it'll depend on where it is, because that's inside the business district of Towson.
It's
Possibly.
DR55 plus one DR16 parcel.
But it is in the traffic shed?
Yeah.
Okay, very good.
Yeah.
Sure, no problem.
Any other questions, comments? Thank you, Mr. Paluso. I appreciate that. All the comments will be taken into consideration when the board votes on its recommendations, which is tentatively scheduled for February 18th, 2021. At this time, we're going to adjourn our public hearing. But before we conclude, please note that the planning board will hold a virtual CIP meeting to hear agency presentation via a separate WebEx meeting today at 5:30. The WebEx link to the CIP meeting can be found on the planning board's website. I thank you all for taking your time this evening and now would like to adjourn.
Motion?
No motion for this one. We'll just adjourn on this, and we'll be starting the CIP meeting momentarily. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.